Hey everybody, how you doing? It's Rocky. I'm back. Did some remodeling, did some work, got some things done. I just wanted to start this series on hot takes. This is Rocky's Hot Takes. I'm going to kind of lay out what's on my mind today and see what you think about it as well. And one of the things I wanted to talk about today was actually crowdfunding. Has it changed? What's going on with it? If you look across the board right now, you'll see that people are using crowdfunding in different ways. And the thing that's been on my mind, especially in our board game industry and how we see things going, is what is it like to be a small player now in this market? It was before crowdfunding was more about the scrappy guy that was going to go in there and get everybody together and get excited about a new project and make that project. Now, crowdfunding platforms, Indiegogo, Kickstarter, what have you, are very much about just marketing. You market your product to get it out there, and you get a bunch of pre-orders, basically. And as much as Kickstarter likes to say, this is not a pre-order store, this is not a catalog, it is. We all realize that. But where have we turned the corner, right? Where have we gone from crowdfunding being this community developing something to it being more of this large corporation using it to create pre-orders and to create marketing hype? It's happened quite a while ago. And when you think about it, these bigger players don't really need Kickstarter. It's not about crowdfunding or getting money to create a project. They can afford to make the project and then market it and sell it. They'll sell probably just as many. But people like to think they're going to get things early, or they're going to have some contribution in how the project's developed. And if you look at how some of the really big Kickstarter organizations, I'm sure you can know who they are, they don't really take community feedback or anything anymore. They tell you what's going to happen. They show it to you early, and then they collect your pledges, and sometime later you get your package. You get your game, you open it, and of course it's delivered to your door, which is always handy. But this idea of this being a marketing engine, of being able to make pre-orders and get people to give you the money before the product is made, it keeps shareholders happy. They really love this because they're basically getting money in advance of having to actually ship a product. It's good for business. It's a very good large business system. But what about the little guy? What about the scrappy person who really does want to create a community project, wants to collect community feedback, and wants to be able to, get that growth in his product or her product and start making a name for themselves? They don't want to make hundreds of thousands of copies. They're okay with 10,000 or less, 1,500 copies. Is it the same? And that those kind of creators are out there, they're trying, but they're getting buried in all the noise and the marketing capability of the larger ones. The algorithms for who shows up on the front page of something like Indiegogo or Kickstarter are based on activity on the campaign. And if you have a small campaign with 500 backers, they're only going to generate so many comments and so much churn a day. But a Kickstarter that's got 50,000, 100,000 or more backers to it, even if a small portion of them is commenting per day, it's a lot of churn, it's a lot of activity, so they will always bubble to the top. And there are marketing agencies out there, for better or worse, that will go onto your campaign and they will contribute. They will add to your noise, add to your churn, so to speak. And it works. You can pay for that if that's what you want to do. I don't personally like that, but it is what it is. It's a business, right? So you can also tell when some of these companies don't actually need to use Kickstarter. For example, in not too distant past here, and this is being recorded mid-August of 2020, what a year, there was a recent Kickstarter that was a raging success. Very complex game, a lot of pieces, books, print, moving parts, all this, playtesting. Within less than 2 months after the campaign closing, they're starting to ship. The only way that could have happened is if the game was already in production when the Kickstarter started. That's the only way a game of that magnitude could have done that. So obviously they don't need it. They don't need the crowdfunding. They've got money to produce the game, in which case it's a marketing tool. And I don't think anybody is confused about that. Everybody realizes it's marketing. But as a little guy, you need to be able to rise above that noise. And part of that noise, you have to deal with marketing. You have to be able to market on Board Game Geek and Facebook and Twitter or wherever your favorite marketing system is. You have to get noticed on these crowdfunding platforms. And that means other people backing your project. There are little pockets and little little groups popping up where they agree to back each other's project just for $1, so that anybody who is following them will see that they backed that project on their Kickstarter list. Great little exchange. It's a great way. You help me, I help you. Great way to do it. It gets visibility. There are paid organizations as well that will help you market your game, do Facebook posts, put you on their page. You can pay people to be a backer on your campaign for like $1, just so it shows up on their feed and they have hundreds of thousands of followers. That's probably an exaggeration. I think the biggest one I've seen so far is in the 20 or 30,000 people that follow one person that will see something. In the board game industry, it's much, much smaller, usually less than 10,000. But you need to market it. I mean, if you look at your budget and your campaigns, and a lot of people get caught out of this when they do a Kickstarter, your marketing budget needs to be a significant portion of your campaign. It's not the biggest. The biggest is actually probably shipping, and that catches a lot of people out as well. They'll get a quote from a shipping or a logistics company, and the basic quote is essentially how much it takes to get a game from the warehouse to a backer's door. But they forget about getting it from the factory to the warehouse, from the factory to the logistics company. And if you're printing 1,500 or 2,000 games, your shipping is likely to be double or more what your manufacturing costs are. So you need to think about that. Recent one we just did Rare Roses not too long ago, and it was like that. It was actually shipping was almost exactly double what manufacturing was. So take that into account. Anyway, I digress a bit. So should there be another platform? Should we have another platform where creators can get together and have that scrappy, let's build something together? If we did, and we're going to limit it to small creators or new organizations or developers, designers, it would have to have limits. I mean, what if we had one that was new that if you had over 100,000 backers in your last campaign, you no longer qualify. With a following like that, you're now in the big leagues. Or you made over 4x your funding goal. You've just graduated to a different level of crowd-funded campaigns. You might be up there with the big guys on Kickstarter and Indiegogo at that point. Do you think there's room for that? Do you think there's room for the scrappy crowdfunding kind of system hanging in there? I'd like to know. I mean, tell me what you think in the comments below. The handful of you that are following me now, and hopefully the more of you that come along, let me know what you think. Maybe we can do this. Maybe it's time to do this. So I'd like to hear your thoughts. Let me know what you think about it in the comments, but be civil to each other. There's way too much nonsense going on as it is. Remember to subscribe, hit the bell icon down there to be notified about other videos in this series and my other series that I'm doing. And as always, make awesome things.